Hi, all you SPMEs out there. Today's question or problem has 3 answers, and the third answer is something you're going to want to stick around for, because I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to do in order to not get sued for the book that you're putting onto the market. So let me get into it. Today's question or problem was, worried companies will sue you for your book? And that is something that many people do wonder about, because perhaps you're writing a book about something, maybe a person, or you're writing a book about a product of some sort, maybe a video game. Your strategies for Fortnite, for example, is another example. There's all sorts of examples where you're using other people's thing. It could also be fan fiction. So maybe you're thinking of writing some Star Wars fan fiction and putting it on the market, but you're wondering, maybe I'm going to get sued if I do that, and so I need to think twice about whether or not I should do it. And that is what we are going to answer in today's video. This is Chris Baird from selfpublishingmadeeasynow.com, where self-publishing doesn't have to be so hard. Go ahead and click the subscribe button to help me produce more videos like this one that will tell me that this is useful to you, and that is something that will be quite helpful to me as well. And check out below in the description, you can grab a copy of my absolutely free self-publishing checklist to make sure that you are not skipping any of the important steps when it goes to getting your book onto the market and making sure you're making sales off of it. So go ahead and check that out. So let's get into it. Minecraft. And that is the story we're going to look at today. And the thing is I knew a person who was making an awful lot of money off of a series of books they had done. They had done some Pokemon, but it was the Minecraft ones, where you would take Minecraft and you would put together a book that would have the animations, the different illustrations and drawings from the Minecraft series, and then it would just have stories. You would use your creativity as an artist, and you would create very amazing stories, but you were doing all of this without the permission of the owners of the trademark, and also the registered trademark, and also just the title itself, Minecraft. And so what happens is that there is a huge market, or there was at least a huge market for these exact books. Kids love the stories, lots of positive feedback, tons of sales at Christmas time. And so that person was making quite a bit of money off of it. It was through Minecraft, or maybe Pokemon was another one, and the other would be like fan fiction. I haven't seen so much on that front where people were selling books on Amazon for that, but these ones here. But then what happened was they ended up having a problem, because either it was Microsoft, I think, who owned it at the time. They did a takedown request to Amazon telling them that this book is owned by somebody else. That is, you can't just use their title if you want to. And this can be an interesting question, because even if you did, like, let's say, helping people how to use Microsoft Excel, is that allowed where you're using Excel in the title, or do you have to say an unofficial guide? And does that protect you? So there's a number of questions that we have that can be around this. And usually what happened is they did not sue him, but with the takedown request, they made sure that none of his books were being sold on Amazon. And this friend of mine, they ended up pivoting to writing about elves and other characters. So it would be very similar stories to the Minecraft stories, but this time it would be something that isn't protected. And so what they found was, of course, was that they weren't making as much money, because people who are interested in Minecraft or Pokemon want to read about this exact subject. But when you end up going in this route, you're not going to make as much money, but then nobody can do a takedown request because you're writing the same stories, but just with elves, for example. And so, which is maybe a good lesson to learn. And so the thing is, they did make less money, but then they won't risk these takedown requests, so that you can see the amount of money. Because obviously, if you're seeing, I think it was $40,000 in one December coming through, and then the person suddenly went to nothing from those books, because obviously they couldn't make anything, and they were because they were selling it, but they did not get sued. And of all of the people that I'm familiar with, I actually haven't ever heard of anybody ever actually getting sued. That doesn't mean they couldn't, but I just haven't heard of it. And so, are you worried companies will sue you for your book? And so there's a couple things. The first is you can get in trouble for using other people's trademarks in your book. So you need to be very, very careful about doing that, because one is, even if you make some money, but then suddenly they do a takedown, then you really end up losing in the long run. And secondly, they could theoretically sue you. The second thing is, you can also have issues if you sell books as fan fiction. So if you're taking your Harry Potter world or Star Wars and you suddenly are writing books inside of that universe and then putting it out onto the market using the same symbols and the same pictures, which could confuse the audience that this book here is not actually an authorized book by the owners of that copyright, like Disney, for example, writing Disney stories, but you're not actually paid and you're making money off of it. You're risking that takedown occurring or maybe getting sued. But the secret of today is that usually you will just get a takedown request. But why exactly would you want to take this risk? It's just too high of a risk. They spent a lot of money to build that brand, and they don't want anybody and their brother coming out with a book that is hitting on those exact same things that they own the rights to, maybe, and it can hurt their brand depending upon how it's presented and such, and somebody else making money where you didn't pay them for licensing to use that brand. You know, if obviously, like if you were doing t-shirts or making little dolls or whatever it might be. In this case, it would be the book side of things that we need to be very, very careful, or else we risk putting ourselves in the line of fire by these companies. So this would be something you would want to be very careful. And if you do choose to go there anyways, you at least need to say unofficial, so it's very clear that you're somebody who's not associated with the company itself, that you're not trying to claim that you actually are part of Pokemon or the Minecraft. You're working for Microsoft or something. So I would definitely not do that. But it's an area that's a little bit gray. I was actually surprised they don't sue. At least I haven't ever heard of that scenario, but it could happen. And so I don't think it's probably worth the risk of building on other people's products if you can help it, even though each person has their own internal level of risk that they would be willing to take. So have you written a book where you use somebody else's trademark material? If you have, write yes below in the comments, and if you haven't, write no below in the comments, and that will help me know exactly where you're coming from on this issue. And check up above me here, and you will find more video answers to your self-publishing questions. Thanks.